Okay, is that coming through, Caroline?
Yep, that's great.
Good. Right, morning everybody. My name's Tony Wilson and I'm the course tutor for land-based studies and rural skills here at Elmwood Campus of SRUC. So what I'm going to do this morning is describe those two courses a little bit and also maybe cover another course that I run as an introductory element. It's a pre-entry course that runs on Monday afternoons with a view to leading into either land-based or rural skills. So I'm hoping that you can see a PowerPoint. Is that correct, Caroline? Is that coming through?
Yep, that's up.
Okay, good, right. So I'll start with the order that people usually do these courses in. So the pre-entry course is something I run on Monday afternoons at the moment between 1 and 4 p.m. It's a drop-in course in a way. It's open to basically people who are wanting to come into college the following academic year. So the group we've got at the moment are looking to start college next September. Which means that they have to be 16 by the end of December this year. So we usually get people from S4, 5, 6. Occasionally we get a few S3s that are a little bit older than the rest of the year group. It runs for a minimum of 8 weeks. Now those 8 weeks don't have to be consecutive because school kids might have exams. They might have doctor's appointments, whatever it might be. So as long as you do 8 weeks in total, you get a little certificate at the end of it to say that you've done the course. It gives me a chance to see what next year's intake is going to be like. It gives you a chance to maybe experience some of the work, some of the tasks that you would be doing full time when you come to college. So the 8 tasks that I choose over the 8 weeks are tasters for some of the full-time units that the full-time students will do. So it's things like helping to build footpaths, planting trees, cutting down trees, working in the college allotment, working with small machines, that kind of stuff. So there'll be a variety of tasks. It's all practical. There are no written elements to this particular course. It's just really to give you an introductory taster. Most of the people who come on it are school pupils who've disengaged with school for a variety of reasons. Lots of people, classroom learning doesn't suit them, or their interests are in the more practical, less academic side of things. So it's kind of aimed at people who maybe want to get a job working with their hands in the outdoors. Here at the college, we run a number of such courses: horticulture, gardening, greenkeeping, gamekeeping, conservation management. So it's elements from all of those courses taken together to maybe give you a few ideas of what you want to do in the future. And like I said, you get a wee certificate at the end of the course. So there's a couple of pictures of the sort of thing that previous students would be doing. It varies from year to year, as does the work in all my courses. It depends what needs to be done. So that particular year these photographs were taken, we were building a bridge and grading a footpath up at a local woodland and using that whacker plate to help compact some of the gravel that we laid on it. So as I say, could be footpath work, could be working with small machines, could be making bird boxes, growing vegetables, you name it. So that's not the only route into my 2 mainstream courses. I do accept people direct from school with references. So basically, normally I get the school phoning me up and saying that they've got somebody who would like to come onto the course. I'll usually do a short interview and a tour around the campus, just so you know what you're getting and I know what I'm getting. Right, so the 2 courses that I run, Certificate of Land-Based Studies. It's a locally devised course, which means that the college has put it together itself, but it's made up from units that are SQA accredited. So they're mostly level 4, so the same sort of level as Nat 4. Mostly practical, although there are 3 core skills embedded within it. over the year, you would be doing 33 weeks in total, split up by a October break, Christmas, Easter. So the first block of studies would be 6 units, one of which would be a core skill. It's usually ICT. Block 2 would normally have another core skill in it. It's usually communication skills. And then block 3 would have another core skill, which would be numeracy. And then mixed in round about those courses are practical elements taken from other college courses. So there'll be horticultural ones, there's possibly going to be some animal care ones. It's elements to give you ideas of what you might want to do full time. So there'll be 18 of these units in total. It'll be things like crop production, estate maintenance, animal breeds and identification, what else is in it? Utility terrain vehicle driving. You'll see some slides coming up in a minute, give you a few other ideas. The idea is that you then progress on to either the rural skills course or our introduction to horticulture course, depending where your interests lie. The course is fully supported. There's usually either 1 or 2 support workers in the class. Paperwork's kept to an absolute minimum. The biggest elements of paperwork are in the core skills units. The other units are mostly practical based and assessed by observer checklists. So basically the tutor stands and watches you do a task, and if you do it correctly, you get a box ticked. But there are some written elements to it as well. But we try and keep those to an absolute minimum. And just to give you a few ideas of what the things are, that's our college allotment on the left-hand side. That's what it looked like a few years ago. It's been upgraded a wee bit since then, but essentially it's the same thing. We get the students to grow vegetables from scratch. So they need to develop their own compost, they build the raised beds, they sow seeds in pots following a crop right through to harvest and tending them as they go. And that covers a whole range of units like horticultural composting, estate maintenance, crop production, soft landscaping, allotment gardening, and so on. You also get to have a look at some machinery as well. The land-based class learn how to drive a gator, which is the machine on the top right of those pictures. It's an all-terrain vehicle that's used on estates, golf courses, that kind of place to move tools and equipment about. So in order to pass that unit, you have to demonstrate you can drive it safely on the road and also on an off-road course. There's also a little bit of paperwork you have to do for it. Okay, so that's basically the land-based course. What I should say about land-based is it runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's only 3 days a week. Usually we start last week of August and run through to the last week of May with various breaks at October, Christmas and Easter. It's 9 o'clock in the morning start to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, with breaks for morning breaks 10:30 for half an hour. Lunchtime is 12 till 1, and then there's an afternoon break at 2:30. Okay, so the other course I run technically is the same level. It's the NC Rural Skills, but it's slightly more developed in that there are mandatory units. So to pass land-based studies, all you have to do is pass 12 out of the 18 units. Rural skills, you have to pass 6 of the mandatory units, which are rural species and habitats, rural environment and introduction, rural estate maintenance, rural work activities, developing skills for works, and enterprise skills. You also have to pass 2 out of the 3 core skills. So you do the same 3 core skills as land-based, but each individual does them at the level that they either came from school with, the next level up, or if they did land-based and move into rural skills, again, the next level up. So if you come from school with an @4 in maths, you would be doing numeracy at level 5. If you pass a ICT at level 3 in land-based studies, you would be doing it at level 4 in rural skills. Okay, so there's progression within it. So it's that little step up from land-based studies. There's a little bit more paperwork, and we expect you to achieve certain units that you have to get the group award. Both courses try to simulate the workplace as much as possible. So it's not like school. We expect you to behave like adults. The disciplinary procedure is the same as you would get in a workplace. You get 3 warnings, and then 4th offence, you're out the door. So you get a verbal warning and then 2 written warnings. Unless there's some sort of major transgression involving violence, drugs, sexual misconduct, you can jump to the head of the queue for one of those. Because it's based like a workplace, we're responsible for your health and safety. So you get provided with personal protective equipment for both courses. So you get steel toe cap footwear, you get overalls, you get fleeces, you get rain gear, you get work gloves, you get hard hats as needed. You are expected to wear them. It's just like a workplace. If you walk past a building site, there'll be signs outside saying you're not allowed in the building site unless you're wearing hard hats, steel toe caps. Same here. If we're doing practical work, you have to wear the PPE or you're not insured and therefore you're marked absent, even if you're there. Okay. The units again are from other SRUC courses. There's a slightly more focus on forestry. The land-based tends to focus more on horticulture. The rural skills tends to focus more on forestry. We also do some building projects, so you have to build something. I say something because it'll depend on what given jobs we have to do in a given year. This year they're building some boardwalks for some footpaths. Last year they built a log store. In previous years they've built a pony shelter or a footbridge. It depends. Okay. We also try to make it as work-based orientated as possible by working with local landowners and local charities. So going out and doing actual work. So we don't get you to build a short section of wall and then knock it down, get the next guy to build it just to show you can build a wall. We would go out and we would build a wall that was needed somewhere. And then the following year we might do something completely different. So it's relevant to the workplace. And here's a couple of ideas of some of the things that we do. The group on the left built that bridge that they're standing on. It's still standing, and it's obviously good enough to take the weight of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. And then that's the right-hand picture with some footpath clearance that we did, doing some high pruning with pole saws. And the guys in the background are clearing a falling tree off the footpath. So it's, as I say, practical based. There is some written work as well, a little bit more so than the land-based studies class. And there are the mandatory units which make it a little bit more challenging. Okay, those are my contact details. If you need to get hold of me, that's my email address here at the college and my direct phone line here at the college. If I'm not in the office at the time, there is an answering machine on that phone line. So with that, I shall hand back to Caroline. I'll leave this up on the screen.
Thanks, Tony. That was great. I've had a couple of questions come through. So just a reminder, if you're watching this live, there is a Q&A box that you can enter any questions that you have about any of the courses that Tony's just spoken about. And somebody's just written to ask, what size are the classes?
We limit them to a maximum of 14, simply because the minibus that we have will take 14 people plus 2 support workers and a driver. That's me. So the maximum would be 14. Normally it's somewhere around about 8 to 14 per class. So they're quite small class groups.
That's great. You mentioned PPE as well.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking what sort of clothes would they have to have themselves in order to be prepared for starting?
Right, if you come into the pre-entry course, we do have some second-hand steel toe caps and gloves that we can give you. But for pre-entry, if you can get a hold of some steel toe caps through the school or yourself. But once you come in full-time, the majority of the safety equipment like eye defenders, ear defenders, steel toe caps are provided for you. But bear in mind that the course runs through the winter. We every year have students who think that they'll be warm outdoors wearing a t-shirt and a fleece or a hoodie. You need to think about layering up because we will be working in all weather conditions. If we're working outside and it's raining, we expect you to be wearing the raincoats, because if you get wet and cold and we have to cancel a class because we've got to evacuate back to college, that means you're responsible for a lesson being cut short. So we expect you to make sure you're warm, make sure you're waterproof. We'll provide you with some of that, but please bear in mind you'll have to be responsible for your own well-being as well. Extra clothing. We do provide lockers on campus, so you can keep your PPE here, so you don't have to lug it back and forward home with you.
That's great. Another question somebody's asking here, if you could run through the progression routes again for your courses, Tony.
Okay, so you can enter the course either through the pre-entry course or through interview from school. Normally, depending on the interview, depending on how well you perform at pre-entry, we'll kind of assess which course suits you best. Pre-entry usually progresses on to rural skills, and then rural skills usually progress into, if you stay here at Elmwood, it's usually into introduction to horticulture or into the greenkeeping courses. We've had students go into animal care, we've had students go into gamekeeping. What we find is some students who haven't got the entry requirements for animal care, gamekeeping and so on, sometimes come to us for a year to bump up their qualification level, and also to become used to the college and the way college teaching is delivered, so that they can then go on and progress into one of those more advanced subjects. We've also had students who've maybe wanted to do agriculture or forestry. We don't run them here at Elmwood. You would have to then go to one of our sister colleges, either Oatridge or the Barony down in Dumfriesshire. But we've got accommodation at all of our campuses if you can't commute on a daily basis. So you can go and stay in one of our halls of residence. We've got one here at Elmwood. They've got them at Oatridge and the Barony if you were interested in agriculture or forestry.
That's great. Thanks, Tony. And just a reminder as well that on Thursday we're going to be doing a live event with our student support team, and Lee from the residents will be there to answer any questions that you might have as well. I've had another question through. How do you apply for the pre-entry course?
The pre-entry course is usually you just get in touch with me by either email or phone, and we'll sort out a place on it. At the moment, I've got 6 people, so I could probably manage a few more. But the people that are on it at the moment have been there since January, so they'll probably be ready to leave sometime in the next couple of weeks, and I'll have more spaces then. But I'll be running it right up to end of June, whenever schools finish.
And would somebody apply for that through our website, or would they contact you directly?
It's not on the
Tony?
website, no.
Okay.
Get in touch with me directly. So
Perfect.
either phone or email, the details are there. We usually get referred by the school's year head, career teacher, whoever, or Skills Development Scotland sometimes put people our way. But yeah, just contact me direct.
That's great. Another question from Hamish. Thanks for getting in touch, Hamish. Do you do dike work at all?
I haven't got any dike work planned. It's not impossible that we might be doing some next year. I haven't thought about the work tasks for next year yet because we're focusing on this year. We have done it in the past. It's a possibility. I can think of a dike that we could do someone.
That's great. Another question is, how many days a week is the rural skills course?
Sorry, I should have said that. The rural skills is 3 days a week as well. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So land-based comes in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Rural skills is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But it's the same times, 9 till 4, with the same breaks.
That's great. Well, I think that brings our questions that we've had through to an end. So thanks very much if you've got in touch this morning. Tony, is there anything you'd like to add before we close today's event?
Not really, just we look forward to seeing you if you do come in either pre-entry or one of the other courses. Yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Those people who have booked online, will send out a follow-up email with a link to the recording, and also some useful contact details in there for you as well if you want to follow anything up with Tony. Okay, thanks very much. Bye for now.
Bye.